Chapter 21. A Lasting Promise. After Jacob's death, Joseph's brothers were afraid. What if Joseph still hates us? What if he punishes us for what we did to him? They whispered among themselves. So they sent a message to Joseph, saying, "Our father told us to ask for your forgiveness. Please forgive us for the wrong we did to you." When Joseph read the message, he wept. He called his brothers and said, "Do not be afraid. Am I in the place of God? You meant evil against me, but God turned it for good, so that many lives could be saved." Then Joseph spoke kindly to them and promised, "I will take care of you and your families." His brothers were no longer afraid, for they saw that Joseph's love for them was real. Joseph lived for many more years and saw his grandchildren grow. Before he died, he gathered his family and said, "One day, God will take you out of Egypt and bring you back to Canaan, the land he promised to our fathers." Then Joseph made them promise, "When God brings you back, take my bones with you." Joseph took his last breath, and the people of Egypt mourned for him. They placed his body in a coffin, waiting for the day when his family would return to Canaan. Even in death, Joseph trusted in God's promise. This was not the end of the story. God was preparing something even greater. Chapter 22. A Nation in Chains. Many years passed, and Joseph and his brothers were gone. But their descendants, the Israelites, grew in number and became strong in Egypt. A new Pharaoh came to power, one who did not remember Joseph. He saw that the Israelites were many and feared they would become too powerful. "We must control them," Pharaoh said. So he made the Israelites slaves. They worked long hours under the hot sun, building cities and carrying heavy stones. Their lives were full of suffering. But even in their pain, the Israelites prayed to God, and he heard them. Pharaoh saw that they were still growing in number. He became afraid and ordered something terrible. Every Hebrew baby boy must be thrown into the Nile River. One woman refused to let her son die. She hid him for 3 months. When she could hide him no longer, she placed him in a basket and set him afloat on the river, praying that God would protect him. The baby's sister, Miriam, watched from a distance as the basket floated down the Nile. Then something incredible happened. Pharaoh's daughter saw the basket and opened it. Inside, she found the crying baby. "This must be one of the Hebrew babies," she said with kindness. She decided to adopt him and named him Moses. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but he would one day lead his people to freedom. God had a plan. Chapter 23. The Burning Bush. Moses grew up in Pharaoh's palace, but deep inside, he knew he was a Hebrew. One day, he saw an Egyptian beating a Hebrew slave. Filled with anger, Moses struck the Egyptian, and the man died. Fearing Pharaoh's punishment, Moses fled to the land of Midian. In Midian, Moses started a new life. He became a shepherd and married Zipporah, the daughter of a Midianite priest. He lived in peace, but God had a greater plan for him. One day, as Moses was tending sheep near Mount Horeb. He saw something amazing, a bush that was on fire but did not burn up. Curious, Moses stepped closer. Suddenly, a voice called out, "Moses, Moses!" Moses replied, "Here I am." "Do not come any closer," the voice said. "Take off your sandals, for you are standing on holy ground. I am the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob." Moses trembled and covered his face. Then God said, "I have seen the suffering of my people in Egypt. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people out of slavery." Moses was shocked. "Who am I to go to Pharaoh?" God answered, "I will be with you." Moses asked, "What if the people ask, 'What is his name?'" God replied, "I am who I am. Tell them, 'I am has sent me to you.'" Still, Moses was afraid. "What if they do not believe me?" God showed Moses miraculous signs. His staff turned into a snake, and his hand became leprous and was healed again. But Moses had one more excuse. "Lord, I am not a good speaker." God reassured him, "I will help you speak, and I will send your brother Aaron to help you." Finally, Moses obeyed. He left Midian and returned to Egypt, ready to confront Pharaoh. A great journey was about to begin. Chapter 24. Let my people go. Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh's palace with a message from God. Standing before the mighty ruler of Egypt, Moses declared, "The Lord, the God of Israel, says, 'Let my people go.'" Pharaoh laughed. "Who is the Lord that I should obey him? I will not let Israel go." Instead of freeing them, Pharaoh made the Israelites work even harder. Moses was discouraged. "Lord, why have you sent me? Things have only gotten worse." But God reassured him, "I will show Pharaoh my power. He will know that I am the Lord." The next time Moses and Aaron went to Pharaoh, Aaron threw down his staff, and it became a snake. Pharaoh's magicians did the same, but Aaron's staff swallowed theirs. Still, Pharaoh refused to listen. So God sent the 10 plagues upon Egypt. 1. Water to blood. The Nile River turned to blood, and fish died. 2. Frogs. Frogs covered the land, even in Pharaoh's palace. 3. Gnats. Swarms of tiny insects filled the air. 4. Flies. Egypt was overrun with flies. 5. Livestock disease. The Egyptians' animals became sick and died. 6. Boils. Painful sores appeared on people and animals. 7. Hail. A terrible storm of hail and fire destroyed crops. 8. Locusts. Swarms of locusts ate everything green. 9. Darkness. Thick darkness covered the land for 3 days. 10. Death of the firstborn. Every Egyptian firstborn died, from Pharaoh's son to the lowest servant's child. Each time, Pharaoh's heart was hardened. He refused to let the Israelites go until the final plague. In great sorrow, Pharaoh finally called Moses and said, "Go, take your people and leave Egypt." The Israelites prepared quickly. They ate the first Passover meal marking their doors with lamb's blood so the plague would not harm them. That very night, the Israelites, 600,000 men, plus women and children, left Egypt. God led them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. The great journey to freedom had begun. Chapter 25. Crossing to Freedom. After Pharaoh finally let the Israelites go, they left Egypt and traveled toward the Promised Land. God led them with a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. But soon Pharaoh changed his mind. "Why did we let them go? We must bring them back," he shouted. He gathered his army, horses, chariots, and soldiers, and chased after the Israelites. The Israelites reached the Red Sea, but Pharaoh's army was getting closer. They were trapped. The people cried out, "Moses, why did you bring us here? We will die." Moses answered, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm, and you will see God's salvation." Then God spoke to Moses, "Lift your staff over the sea." Moses obeyed, and a strong wind began to blow. Suddenly, the waters parted, and a dry path appeared in the middle of the sea. The Israelites walked through the sea on dry ground, with walls of water on both sides. Pharaoh's army followed them into the sea, but when the Israelites reached the other side, God told Moses, "Stretch out your staff again." Moses obeyed, and the waters rushed back over the Egyptians. The army was swept away, and the Israelites were finally free. The people rejoiced and sang, "The Lord has won the victory. He is our strength and our salvation." Through this miracle, God showed his mighty power and faithfulness to his people. Chapter 26. Manna from Heaven. The Israelites were free, but the journey was difficult. As they traveled through the wilderness, they became tired and hungry. "Moses, we have no food. Why did you bring us here to die?" they complained. Moses prayed, and God answered, "I will send bread from heaven." Every morning, the people will gather what they need. The next morning, when the Israelites woke up, they saw something small and white covering the ground. "What is this?" they asked. Moses said, "This is the bread the Lord has given you to eat." They called it manna, which means "what is it?" in Hebrew. God gave specific instructions: gather only what you need for the day. On the 6th day, gather twice as much, because the 7th day is holy. Some people disobeyed and kept extra manna overnight. But by morning, it was full of worms and smelled bad. However, on the 6th day, when they gathered extra, it remained fresh for the Sabbath. The Israelites ate manna every day for 40 years, until they reached the Promised Land. But they complained again. "Moses, we have no water." So God told Moses to strike a rock with his staff. When he did, fresh water gushed out, and the people drank. Even in the wilderness, God provided everything they needed. Chapter 27. God's Covenant with Israel. After months in the wilderness, the Israelites arrived at Mount Sinai. There, God told Moses, "I will make a covenant with my people. If they obey my words, They will be my treasured possession." The people agreed, saying, "We will do everything the Lord has spoken." Then on the third day, a thick cloud covered the mountain, and there was thunder and lightning. The people trembled as God's voice spoke from the fire. God gave them the 10 Commandments. 1. You shall have no other gods before me. 2. You shall not make idols or worship them. 3. You shall not misuse the name of the Lord. 4. Remember the Sabbath day and keep it holy. 5. Honor your father and mother. 6. You shall not murder. 7. You shall not commit adultery. 8. You shall not steal. 9. You shall not lie or bear false witness. 10. You shall not covet what belongs to others. The people were afraid and said, "Moses, you speak to us. If God speaks, we will die." Moses reassured them, "Do not fear. God is showing his power, so you will trust him." Then Moses went up the mountain and stayed 40 days and 40 nights, receiving more laws and instructions from God. Meanwhile, the Israelites waited below. But their patience would not last. Chapter 28. A costly mistake. Moses was on Mount Sinai for 40 days, receiving God's laws. But the Israelites grew impatient. "Where is Moses? He has been gone too long," they said. They went to Aaron, Moses' brother, and demanded, "Make us a god to lead us." Aaron told them, "Give me your gold earrings." The people brought their gold, and Aaron melted it down and shaped it into a golden calf. Then they said, "This is your God, O Israel, who brought you out of Egypt." The next day, they held a festival, offering sacrifices and dancing around the calf. But God saw everything. On the mountain, God told Moses, "Go down at once. The people have turned away from my commands." Moses hurried down, carrying the 2 stone tablets with the 10 Commandments. When he saw the golden calf and the people dancing, he became furious. In anger, he threw down the tablets, breaking them at the foot of the mountain. Moses burned the golden calf, ground it into powder, scattered it in water, and made the Israelites drink it. Then he turned to Aaron. "What have you done?" Aaron replied, "The people forced me. I threw the gold into the fire, and out came this calf." Moses stood at the entrance of the camp and called out, "Whoever is on the Lord's side, come to me." The tribe of Levi came forward, and Moses commanded them to restore order in the camp. Many people faced judgment that day. Afterward, Moses returned to God and pleaded, "Forgive them, Lord. If not, erase my name from your book." God was merciful but said, "I will not go with this people, for they are stubborn, but I will send an angel before them." Moses begged, "If your presence does not go with us, do not send us from here." God heard Moses' prayer and promised, "My presence will go with you, and I will give you rest." Though Israel had sinned, God's mercy was greater. He gave Moses a second set of stone tablets, renewing his covenant with his people. Chapter 29. A second chance. After the golden calf incident, Moses pleaded with God to forgive the Israelites. Lord, if you do not go with us, do not send us from here. God, in his mercy, answered, I will go with you. But he also warned, I am making a new covenant with Israel. Obey my commands, and I will bless you. God told Moses to chisel out 2 new stone tablets like the first ones. I will write the same words on them, he said. Moses went up Mount Sinai again, fasting for 40 days and 40 nights. God revealed his nature to Moses, saying, the Lord, compassionate and gracious, slow to anger, abounding in love and faithfulness. God renewed his covenant and gave Moses laws for Israel to follow, including, keep the Sabbath holy. Do not worship other gods. Celebrate the feasts as I have commanded. When Moses came down from the mountain, his face was shining with God's glory. The people were afraid to come near him, so he covered his face with a veil when speaking to them. The Israelites now understood the seriousness of God's commands. They promised to follow his laws and remain faithful to him. Despite their failure, God gave them a second chance. Chapter 30. God's presence among his people. After renewing the covenant, God gave Moses detailed instructions for building the tabernacle, a sacred tent where he would dwell among his people. The Israelites brought offerings, gold, silver, fine linen, and precious stones, to construct it exactly as God commanded. The skilled craftsmen Bezalel and Oholiab led the work. They carefully made the Ark of the Covenant, the golden lampstand, the altar of incense, and the bronze basin for purification. Finally, the tabernacle was finished, and Moses set it up. He placed the ark inside the most holy place, covered by the mercy seat, where God's presence would dwell. Then he anointed the tabernacle and the priests with holy oil, setting them apart for service. As soon as everything was completed, a cloud covered the tabernacle, and the glory of the Lord filled it. The people stood in awe as God's presence came to dwell among them. From that moment, whenever the cloud lifted, the Israelites knew it was time to move. When the cloud remained, they stayed where they were. The journey was not over, but now they knew God was with them